watching Prime Morning. We hope you've been inspired this morning by that motivational video. It's time for us to delve into what the newspapers have for us. But let me introduce our guests. They are already seated, of course, looking as lovely as they always do. Representing the NPP this morning is Manasseh Atabuahin. Good morning, Manasseh.
Good morning, Rosalie.
How are you?
Very well, and you?
I'm fine, thank you. Manasseh is a government spokesperson on economy. And representing the NDC this morning is Honorable Timothy Atabuahin. I want him. I hope I got it right.
Got it.
Yay! Good morning, Honorable.
And good morning.
How are you today?
I'm doing well.
Fantastic. It's good to have you here.
We thank God for His mercies.
Yes, definitely. We thank God.
Long time I haven't met Manasseh. It's nice I've seen him this morning in a splendid dress. I hope the weather is good for you in terms of the economy. Once you speak, once you are the government spokesperson on the economy.
Yeah, he is.
Yes.
You know, we've made some respite in our economic recovery, so things are getting better.
Honorable, you agree with him?
It's good to see you again, Honorable.
No, if there is a respite, he doesn't need to say it. People will feel the economic freedom. People will feel the ambience. The fact that we are fine in terms of our purchases, our daily struggles, and so on. So you see, it's just like a leopard coming the street and telling people that I am a leopard, I'm a leopard. When you have the sports, people will know that you're a leopard. You don't need to tell people that I am a leopard or I'm a lion. So for me, I think that Manasseh, if things are good, we'll speak for you. And action speaks louder than words.
You are aware that today we don't cry over fuel price increases. We don't cry over currency depreciation as well. Do we cry over currency depreciation today?
But we know that fuel price is
stable.
Yes,
not because you've done anything to stabilize it. We have to pay our debt. We are not paying them. So the amount of money, currency that we wanted to send out is many years.
DDEP, okay. Now let's quickly delve into our topics.
If it is export drive, fine.
Right. We have some few topics we'll delve into. Let me quickly touch on them and then I read what the newspapers have. We are touching on, the first one will be concept of NPP and NDC Supreme Court judges. Is it dangerous? The president has spoken about it. Now, somewhere last week, the former president of Ghana, John Dramani Mahama, said it was a week or 2 weeks ago, did address some persons in the NDC who are in the law school and told them that they should focus on courses into the bar because the current government has filled the spaces with NPP-prone people. And so when he comes, he will make sure he balances the equation. Now, the president of Ghana has said that this particular statement is very dangerous, and hence he's calling on the public to do something about it. The second one will be when the president actually also did speak about the fact that his government has fought corruption more than any other government has. Now, this is where our question to you today is, do you agree with the president that his government, that the NPP government under his administration has fought corruption that any other government has since independence? Please, let's hear your voices this morning if you do agree with the president saying. Also, the president has made a passionate appeal to the House of Chiefs to give vast land for planting for food and jobs to enable us to have more food, more jobs, and, we can actually not have increment in food prices. And this appeal has gone out there. We'll also touch on, a medical student who survived 7 suicidal attempts. Yesterday was World Suicide Day, and this student actually spoke about her experience, and this is because she had so much load in the medical school. She was struggling to keep up her life. She was struggling to make the grades, and so she attempted to kill herself 7 times. Depression is really real. We'll talk about that. We'll also talk about, the cocoa price increment, where most farmers are super excited about it. It was in front of almost all newspapers yesterday. They are so excited because the price has shot up close to 76%. And they've been calling for it, and finally, it's here. Other conversations we'll also talk about. Now, there's this research that has popped up, and the research is showing that lead in food, lead in water is causing so much harm to our health to the extent that even our children are developing low IQ because of that. We'll probably touch a bit on that as well. And also, EC has finally released the date for the limited voters registration exercise. Now, we know that some parties actually took the EC to court to prevent her from, going ahead with this particular limited registration exercise, but it's actually been agreed that they can actually go ahead with it. And so the data are out with the venues as well. Let me start off with what the newspapers have, and then we go into our topics for today. But don't forget to get interactive, sending your messages to us. Do you agree that this government, under the administration of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has fought corruption more than any other government has? Let's hear your voices this morning. The Daily Graphic newspaper is our first newspaper we'll read. EC begins a limited voter registration today despite court injunction. GTEC freezes unaccredited academic programs. Public office accountability. Onslaught on ill-gotten wealth. New bill to tackle corruption. President says so. IGP faces accusers in camera today. Political colorization of judiciary dangerous, says the president. The Daily Guide newspaper. IGP storms Parliament over leaked tape, and of course it's definitely going to be in camera, and so you can watch it whilst it's being aired and get to hear everything that he will be saying today. He's going to defend himself with regards to the allegations that have been brought against him. So I can't wait to hear what he will have to say. Airbus government official 1, Nana Jabs Mahama. NLA launches afternoon draw, size Ghana Post Pact. Shama query not a license. And yesterday we did speak about it, which is very sad to hear that, people are still practicing without a license. And so until this happened, nobody would have even known that they were practicing without a license. And currently 5 lives have been lost. Voters registration begins today, and that will be it for the Daily Guide newspaper. The Finder newspaper, 54 post offices to sell NLA games, afternoon draw starts. NHIA paid 244,079 Ghana cedis for 226 childhood cancer cases. Wow, that's good though, that's good. President rejects accusations of clearing appointees accused of corruption. Minerals Commission says Omani Quarry has no license. I'm focused on recapturing Pandai seats for NPP. Richard Nyama says so. And Agenda 111 to create over 20,000 direct jobs. Another 25,000 jobs in the design and construction phase. So 25,000 jobs in the design and construction. But I thought Agenda 111 was already on. Almost half was completed. So I'm not understanding this one, Manasseh.
Yeah, so the project is ongoing.
Yeah, but he's saying that it's going to create 25,000 jobs. So it's now going to create?
Of course. So projects are ongoing. And so when the project is completed, you expect a lot of businesses to spring up in these areas as well.
In design and construction phase.
Yeah, exactly. So it tells you once we are constructing across the country, we are bringing a lot of people, artisans on board, so that they will also have something to do. So it is not surprising we are having this figure to be more. If you are almost
completed, how is it that you are now creating 25,000?
No, you see, the projects are at various stages of completion. You understand? Yeah, so some are the lentil level, others are the under construction level. And so every now and then we are bringing more people on board. And so for employment, it will create more than what is even stated in the graphic. Okay.
The Daily Statesman newspaper. My government fighting corruption in concrete deeds. President Akufo-Addo says so. And if you agree with him, please let's hear your voice this morning. If you don't agree with him, let's hear your voice this morning. Give us reasons why you agree or reasons why you do not agree with him. NHIS saving lives of children with childhood cancers. Government prioritizes roads, electricity in Agenda 111 project. NLA launches noon rush draw, signs deal with Ghana Post. And IGP appears before committee probing Bugri Nabu tape today. Economy Times. GIPC records $229 million FDI for Q2. That's the second quarter. Cocoa price increased by 63.5%, now selling at 308 Ghana cedis a bag. I know the cocoa farmers are super excited about this. First IMF review set for September 25th. Oferiata confident of second tranche of $600 million US. Some messages have started coming in. I don't know if I should read the very first one, then we go into our topic. Okay, so the very first message that has come in is from Aaron Bebako Kokomisa, and he says, good morning to you. Political administrations spend so much to have a clean sheet, that is to at least have zero tolerance of corruption. Before the people, that is widened up or introduce institutions that are mandated by law to fight or minimize the level of corruption in the system. But at the end of the day, the picture looks blurred, as if nothing is happening to fight corruption in the system. My point is that the issue of corruption is attitudinal, which has to do with morality, but I strongly believe that if the attitude of our politicians can be worked on by a legal framework or whatever means, I think we'll see a better future tomorrow. Thank you so much, Aaron, for sending your message. You at home can also send in your message, join our conversation. Do you agree that this administration, this government has fought corruption more than any other government since independence? That's what the president has said. Do you agree or you don't? Send in your reasons why you agree or your reasons why you do not agree. But I should pose the same question to you, Honorable Timothy Award Terem Atabwade.
And the question is?
Do you agree that this administration has fought corruption more than any other government since independence?
Yes, sir. Let me say good morning once again to our viewers out there. Maybe Manasseh will agree, but I will not certainly agree. I will not certainly agree because the facts are there to show. And anytime a government is fighting against a cancerous program, people know and they are part of the fight against it and they appreciate it. In fact, you don't need anyone to trumpet that the government has been an abysmal performer in terms of corruption. When you just oppose the president's position now and before he became a president, and the fact that he was touted as an anti-corrupt fellow, these were the credentials of the president. In fact, he's a law luminary, he's an anti-corrupt fellow, he's a disciplinarian, and so on. You just oppose this, and what is happening currently is nauseating and irritating. And you see, it has become so mostly because of the fact that he packed his family, he packed his government with close family people and close friends. It becomes difficult to tackle people who are from your innermost family and friends. It is extremely difficult to fight such a cancer. And where corruption has gotten to, it's like cancer. And when cancer becomes difficult, what do? You apply heavy doses of chemotherapy to uproot the cancerous cells. That's where we've gotten to. Corruption has developed into cancer. We need to apply heavy doses of chemotherapy to uproot the cancerous cells of corruption. Why do I say that? Even people who supported the president, look at what this Professor Jimabuedi said. Professor Jimabuedi said that President Akufo-Addo's credibility in terms of corruption fight is in tatters. CDD by Professor H. Kwesi Prempeh, as early as the early stages of this government, of the government of Nana Addo Dankwa, President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, said that 9.6 billion. Kwesi H. Prempeh himself presented the report, not by CDD. 9.6 billion has been stolen from public purse. I didn't say this thing. It goes on. We can remember the Nyantachi case, where he said that the President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo is indebted because of his campaign to launch, because of his campaign, hence 10% of every contract goes to him. I didn't say this. President Nana Addo is leader of a criminal gang syndicate at the Flagstaff. Martin Kwebu said this. Ghana's president is a good friend. That is Matthias Alista about the gold scandal deal that the Al Jazeera did. I can go on and on. Simply, the president has thrown the fight against corruption. When we want to talk, you know where they hide it. That it is the country that has resourced corruption institutions. I've worked with Shrek as an investigator for 10 good years. if you are having an institution that fights corruption, and then the salaries and conditions of the investigators and those who fight corruption are low, it is difficult to fight those who have amassed so much wealth. And I think it was seen in the OSPs. I think the current OSP talked about the fact that if the conditions of service of those fighting corruption are not good, it is difficult to fight them. I can go on. So the president is someone, if you are living in a glass house, you don't throw stones. You went to, look, for more than 3 consecutive State of Nation address, the president ceased mentioning the word corruption. Look at a married deal where it was packed over $800 million. He said he was misled. It led to Honorable Ajako losing his position. After Ajako even said that pressure was put on him to resign, and Gabi Ochidako will now know why he resigned, because he had to go. And that deal was cooked by him and so on. We can go on. Look at Matt Namiru describing as the mother serpent of corruption. The Auditor General report, over 52 billion as we said today. The last I was talking, the Auditor General has retrieved over 2 billion. It means that the money is touched with the people with your appointees. Where are they? People who are fighting corruption. For instance, Matt Namiru, the Auditor General, look at the way the Auditor General was sacked. When you tell me the president, who is a lawyer, doesn't know that it was unconstitutional on his part to have removed the Auditor General, he doesn't know that the Auditor General was touching the untouchables. In this case, he was touching Honorable Osafo Mafo in the case of the Kroll and associate of the $1 million at the time and so on. The issues, the PDS. Do you remember?
But Honorable, none have been found guilty, right?
No. It's not about none has been fired. That is even worse. Allow you disable your appointees. When you are found corrupt, disable them and let them face full inquiry. And when the full inquiry is done, they are put before the court. But when you come clearing them anytime we come, even when they're investigating the matter, look at the bust issue. When the BNI were on the bust, the president said there was nothing wrong with it. Look at the cash for seats issue. Before even a committee of parliament is settled, the president clears that has been the issue. And I'm not saying this, in the media. Joy TV have done a lot of documentaries on these things and so on. So the president should be candid enough to tell the people that I have failed. Humility pays more than any other thing, so that we can all come together.
If he hasn't failed, why should he say he's failed? Because in his, statement, he hasn't failed. In his statement, he's fighting corruption. He sets up the office.
But we all know, that's why I said that if he's fighting the corruption, it's not just about me sitting here. The CSOs, there are CSOs dotted over this country that are anti-corrupt CSOs. You know it. Transparency International, you know the report on Ghana. You know it. I am not the one saying it. You know Transparency International, even the local one. Your stations have done a lot of interviews on the president fighting of corruption. Look, even in terms of the fact that when we're under pandemic, ministers were making profits from the pandemic that bedeviled this country. You remember the Minister Ajima Menu, Minister of Health, or the Sputnik V, and when they said that they were talking to the Russian president for him to give us Sputnik V, and the cost of transportation was more than the cost of the drug. When he was brought before the parliamentary committee, what did he say? He said he couldn't think well. He couldn't think well because his mind was jammed up. You understand? The president gave him leave. You understand? Yet the man who was supposed to be in leave was with the president at Manchia, and the president was praising him that he has gone through hell. If the leading crusader of corruption cannot discipline himself, look, the issues are many.
Who is the leading crusader of corruption? I'm
talking about the president. Those were the credentials that the leading crusader of anti-corruption. Those were has become a corruption crusader now. He's now a corruption crusader.
That's what you say. He's now a corruption crusader.
Crusader, yeah.
Oh,
because of the facts I'm adducing.
Okay.
Look at PDS. We release a national asset like ECG to PDS. Later on, look at the corruption that was fraught with it, and so it was so much that this country lost over $90 million from the Millennium Challenge account. You remember that from the US that said that it was corruption-related issues. I can go on. Okay. Look at
let me let Manasseh speak a bit too.
Okay. Look at the Americans. Right. Look at the fact that Ken Ofori-Atta. Kennedy Ajapon said that the Fluster has become a place. When you go, you have to pay $20,000 before you can see the president. The issues are many. These are issues that are dotted all over social media. They are on print media. You've interviewed people. Media have done it. Civil society have talked about it. And the president seems simply not to care about the cancerous nature of corruption in this country.
Manasseh.
Roslyn, let me say a very good morning to you and a very good morning to Honorable Timothy Atabwade, and good morning to our cherished viewers. It is indeed true that this administration, headed by His Excellency the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has fought corruption than any other government in the history of our country. If for nothing at all, you would remember when we came into office in 2017 onwards, because the President was keen in fighting against corruption, he set up the office of the Special Prosecutor. And he even appointed a known NDC senior-most lawyer to head that institution. You see, that was something that was quite baffling, because for most governments in our history, no one would do that. The NDC would never come into power and appoint an NPP person to head a legal institution of that matter, of that nature. And so the president was clear in what he sought to do to ensure that even people in his government, if there are allegations of corruption against them, the OSP, being someone who is even from a different party, from the main opposition party, should be able to go after, such persons of which allegations of corruption have been leveled. And he has been very definite in this fight. When you look at the budgetary allocation to our anti-graft institutions, you would realize that we have increased monies to all these institutions than any other government in the history of this country. That is very clear. And the government, again, has been very careful to ensure that these anti-graft institutions are highly independent, so that the president or government officials do not in any way influence the kind of investigations they carry out. Now, let me say that if anybody mentions that the president has failed in the fight in the fight against corruption, that is untrue. That is untrue, because when you look at the number of cases which have been leveled against government appointees under this administration, you realize that what the president has done is to act on allegations to ensure that these persons are being probed. And in some of the instances, you realize that some of them are even being suspended, some of them are sacked. He even went ahead to mention people, series of people in his government. And all this is to tell you that he has had a lot of cases and he doesn't cover anyone. Once there are levels of allegations against you in the line of your duty as a government appointee, the president quickly will hand you over to the anti-graft institutions, and he will ensure that investigations are carried out against whatever has been leveled against you. And it is true that when you go through all these incidences, it is these institutions that came out at the end of their investigations to clear all these people. And it tells you that all these things people mention, that, oh, as when you go to the presidency, you need to pay this amount and all of that. All these are baseless allegations. No one has been able to provide evidence whatsoever to buttress their false claims that today, should you want to go to the Jubilee House and should you want to, see the president, you would have to pay. These are baseless allegations, and no one has been able to substantiate this. And so all these things they are mentioning that, they have corruption here and there. Of course, as for corruption, it is a canker that has to be dealt with. But the truth and the reality of the matter is that our institutions, our anti-graft institutions, have been empowered well enough to ensure that they are able to fight against incidences like this. And you see, the president is a very firm gentleman, first gentleman of the country, and he doesn't condone even allegations of corruption. And so it doesn't matter whether you are a core member of his government or not. He mentioned some deputy chief of staffs, some key members. What's the name? The secretary of the interministerial committee on illegal mining and all of them. These are people who are closer to him. But once there are allegations against you, he ensures that these institutions are allowed to work. And he even cited the current, what's the name, investigation by the OSP, where, as everybody is aware, the OSP is seriously investigating into the alleged, corruption or non-corruption of the monies that were found in the former minister's house. And so it cannot be said anywhere that this government has failed, and it cannot be said anywhere. My honorable mentioned that
the question here was not about if you fought corruption or not. It's fighting corruption. Yeah. This is the government that has fought the most corrupt cases in the history of Ghana since we gained independence. Sure. Meaning that under President Akufo, he didn't tackle corruption the best like under President Akufo-Addo. So you made mention of the Office of the Special Prosecutor, where he set up and he put an NDC man there. Sure. At the end of the day, the same NDC man that was put there also brought out, some sort of allegations against the government and even labeled the president as a mother serpent of corruption. And so if he's supposed to be the special office of the special prosecutor and he comes out and says, okay, upon my investigation, this is what I've seen. And, the president is coming out to say that I have fought corruption more. Then, there's been, and yes, the president, sorry, let me get it for you. Honorable, do you want any other newspaper? I could pass them to you.
This for them.
This, okay, right.
Rosalind, you see?
The Daily Guide is also for them, so I can give it to you as well. So you can have these two. So that's so that's why I'm asking you this question.
When the former special prosecutor mentioned, allegedly, without any basis, that the current president is the mother serpent of corruption, I did not find or see him adduce any evidence. He did not tender in any evidence to buttress his claims.
Well, he was using the deal.
It was just, and are you aware that recently that deal has been cleared? You are aware. Yeah. So you see, there was nothing wrong with the Ejapa deal. It was just mere propaganda by the NDC, because when you go into the merits of the Ejapa deal and what this country would have gained from it, you realize that it was the best deal this country would ever have had. And so all these wild allegations and statements are baseless. No evidence. He said that, but he could not provide any evidence to say that, okay, as per my investigation, I caught the president maybe on tape, red-handed, doing this, collecting bribe whatsoever. He could not mention even one. And I dare anybody today, even the NDC, to mention one incidence of corruption against the president where they can tender in evidence. It was the same special prosecutor who was pointing fingers at the former president, that he is the government official one in the Airbus scandal.
So that man there's a question on that man? Is that what it is?
He mentioned it.
No, I'm saying, so
what I am saying is that
other special prosecutor, is there a question mark on him?
No, there is not. He's working. He's working. And you see, he's even going after, and that is the trademark of this government. He's been empowered enough to even go after senior most government officials in this government.
But he actually said that anytime he goes after them, he's stopped by
he's not stopped. You see,
calling.
It is never true. I've mentioned that the president, not even the president or the vice president or any other appointee, influences the operations of these anti-graft institutions.
Do you want me to ask you this question about the Al Jazeera? Al Jazeera also released a certain footage some time ago about this gold,
you see,
yes,
Rosalind.
saga. Oh, no, let me land, please. This gold saga, and the president's name was mentioned. Yeah. Now, one thing that Ghana did, which was good, very commendable, was write to Al Jazeera to tell them to withdraw. And guess what? Al Jazeera came back telling us they have their proof and their evidence, and they ain't withdrawing. Yeah. So what about that?
No, you see, if you took time, even our viewers, anybody who took time to watch that video, you realize that at the end of the clip, Alistair Matthias even alluded or accepted that he's had no engagement with the president before. He doesn't know him. He was only using his name to brag. And so when you grant an interview, you put someone on camera, of course, and the person, as I sit here, I can mention my senior brother. We've been on several shows before. I can use, should I go to his constituency today? I can use his name because maybe I have a picture with him. I can even use his name that, oh, he's my brother. He's,
so name
that doesn't mean that it is true. And it is the same thing that happened in this video. At the end of the video, he himself mentioned that he has no connections with the president. Go and check his age, and you realize that all he said were just lies. He was only bragging.
Okay.
He was only bragging. And there's nothing whatsoever that is true in what he said.
Okay.
You see, Rosalind and Manasseh, listen to me. The president can make pronouncement, I'm fighting corruption. Action speaks louder than words. If, look, Adubuahin, the deputy minister, was he a minister, and a minister at the finance ministry has resigned because of allegations of corruption, in which he even alleged that 250,000 Ghana cedis were given to the vice president or so. Today, as we speak, Adubuahin has resigned, no probe is conducted, and he's still on the board of the Bank of Ghana. He's still on the board of Bank of Ghana. You understand? And the president's own statement tells us that there's corruption in his government, that he has fought corruption more than any other government. It means that he has not put in measures to prevent corruption. That's why there's much more corruption in his government that he has fought it. We are not saying this in CSOs. You have listened to their interviews. You have listened to anti-corrupt advocates. You have listened to people who do research into corruption. You have listened to the Auditor General's report, his recommendations and findings against state institutions and actors. And Rosen, take it from me. When we're handing over the report on financial malfeasance and corruption that we handed over to them was less than 800 million Ghana cedis. From that year, the first year, it increased to 12.3 billion. The second year, 5 billion. The last year was...
So you agree that the NDC also had some...
No, we are a human institution.
Okay, so...
Because we are a human institution, we are generally greedy and selfish. You understand? But it is the institutions, both vertical and horizontal, that has been put in place to fight corruption. If they are up and doing, and there's no obstruction and clearing of suspected issues of corruption and corruption-related issues, then those institutions come on. Let me tell you, even in the US, even at the UN, there's corruption. There's corruption, but the institutions are up and doing. And as a result, it becomes very difficult for them to steal. In this part of our
So are you
world,
saying that was it for the NDC, where, you know, the institutions were working, so it was difficult for people in the NDC to steal?
No, that's not right. What I'm saying is that as a human institution, there's bound to be people you have appointed that would want to steal or take money. But you should not clear them when they issue. Release them to the institution. Don't interfere and let them investigate.
Did the NDC do that?
I'm coming. Yes, you saw the cases of Abuga Pele and other people who have been in prison. And that's the conundrum with corruption, or the paradox of corruption. The corruption, you see, when I'm fighting you, I can talk big. When it comes to me fighting me, who is my son, about corruption, the issues I'm accusing you about, I can't talk. That's the paradox of corruption. Talking about President John Dramani, who is it Airbus 1? What is it?
Airbus 1.
Is it not funny? You have been in power for 7 good years. You can even write to the state attorney of the British government where it took place. And the president at his age and at his level should still be mentioning things that, what do you call it, serial callers are writing. The president can even hold a dialogue with the British Prime Minister and say that this issue ought to investigate it. Because the British government appalls corruption. You know it. Most of the European countries do not want corruption and so on. If today the president is still talking about Airbus 1, then he does not know what he's doing, and then he has to remove his attorney general, because the attorney general too is not up and doing, and he must also remove the what do you call him, the special prosecutor, because you have all the resources. They can even charter a plane. In fact, when this lady Adjoa Safo was in the US, and they chartered a plane for her. Why can't you charter a plane to go and investigate John Dramani Mahama? The president has been chartering places and bathing, and when he went bathing, didn't he go to a British man and say that, look, this thing is involving my haven't former president been investigated all over the world? Jacob Zuma is one. There are other former presidents who have been prosecuted and they are in prison.
Honorable, so what you're trying to
what
say
I'm
is
saying
that
if indeed
that Airbus saga
it's a non-starter. It's never happened.
Okay.
These are investigations that were carried out. And the people mentioned it. You have come to power 7 years. Next year you'll be leaving power. So you want to leave without investigating the Airbus saga.
Let's talk about law.
Put Mahama to shame.
Let's talk about law.
Investigate him, bring him to order.
All right.
Jacob Zuma is in prison. Other presidents have been investigated. Why can't the current president, who is fighting corruption, investigate the Airbus one, whom you know is Mahama? Is Mahama a lion that you cannot arrest him? Arrest him, investigate him, put him in prison if indeed he's found guilty.
Okay.
So the president should stop disturbing the ears of people. The president can charter a plane for a member of parliament to come.
All right. Let's go to the Supreme Court where, your flag bearer, that is Mr. John Dramani Mahama, did say that he alleged that the president has filled it with more NPP-inclined members. And he was urging the NDC members to look into going into law and look more career in the bar because when he comes to power, he'll make sure he balances the equation. Now, the president of Ghana has spoken about it, condemned that statement, and has said that Ghanaians should speak about it because this is very, very wrong. Manasseh, let me start this conversation with you.
Rosalind, I want to reiterate that.
No, because you just ended. You had a long talk, so.
I want to reiterate that. You see, yes, it is true that action speaks louder than words in the fight against corruption, and that is exactly what we have. I have mentioned that when you look at the budgetary allocation to the anti-graft institutions, it speaks louder than words, and we have invested more in the anti-graft institutions than the NDC.
Uninterrupted.
And that is what is happening. Have you heard? No, hold on. Have you heard in any way that any of these anti-graft institutions have been interrupted in the line of their duty? Even with the recent OSP's seizure of Madame Cecilia Dape's money, it had to do with the court. So it was an issue between the courts and the OSP as to the legalities in seizing her money, which had nothing to do with the government. And so we need to draw the clear boundaries with this. And it can never be said. Honorable said that this government official one thing that a former special
saga.
It never happened. It happened.
Oh, no, that's not what he said.
No, hold on.
He never said
he said a lot of things, but one of them, he said it never happened. I want to... Everybody is aware.
He said
everybody is aware that it happened.
If I retrace it, what he's saying is that there's a business deal, but there's no corruption.
And the special prosecutor pointed accusing fingers at him.
So, bring him before book. You don't just point fingers to Rosalind that he has done this, and you have the powers to bring her to book, and he's walking about freely. Then you are deceiving yourself and deceiving the public.
All right,
no, this has nothing to do with deceit of the public. This has to do with our anti-graft institutions. Again, it is up to the courts and the anti-graft institutions to work expeditiously to bring finality to this. But it cannot be said. Honorable. It cannot be said that it never happened. It happened, and everybody is aware. Now, back to our substantive issue. You see, the recent statement by the former president, that the current president has packed the bench with NPP-aligned judges is unfortunate, and it should be condemned in no uncertain terms, because it is not worthy of a statesman of his nature to make statements like this. And you see, this impugns a lot of negativity on our independent judicial system, which is very unfair. In any case, if you remember, in the 2012 election petition, don't forget that when you look at the Supreme Court judges, most of them who were empaneled were appointed by former President Akufo. Most of them. So if it is true that these judges do the bidding of the MPP, then it wouldn't have been the case that even beyond the over 24,000, pink sheets, evidence we were able to even present to the court, we still lost that petition. So I am surprised, and I cannot understand why, in the thinking of the former president, he erroneously puts out there that the moment a judge is appointed under an administration, it means you are an MPP person. It is completely false. And in any case, we have built over 140, courts across the country.
So we need to fill this.
So are they telling us that because we should wait, or we shouldn't even appoint judges for them to go through some sort of vetting even by parliament, and we shouldn't appoint at all. I just cannot understand. So it has to be established that we shouldn't be impugning negativity to our judicial system.
Yeah, and our judicial system is a very sensitive place.
Of course, and you see the mentality again, the mentality of the former president. You see that the bench today is empaneled with a lot of MPP aligned people. Is even forced, and for him to even say that should they win, he also would be pushing more of the NDC lawyers. It's very disastrous. It is very dangerous, and these are
we should play politics with, right?
Not at all. That's why I'm saying it is unfortunate. In fact, all the civil society organizations and even the NDC themselves should be calling out the former president to condemn him on what he has said in this regard, because we do not do politics with our judicial system. We do not. In fact, when you even look at most of the countries where military takeovers do happen, you realize that the first thing these soldiers do is to attack the presidency and even parliament. Most of them do not even attack the judicial system. So it tells you how important the judicial system is. So if a statesman of the status of a former president has this kind of mentality,
could it be that he has proof? Could it be that he has some proof somewhere?
Very intelligent question. So you see, if the former president again was able to list all the judges as we have present, and to say that as per my investigation, for all these judges who are appointed under this current administration, Judge so and so, as per his dealings, he's an MPP member. Judge so and so, as per his dealings, he or she is an NDC member. That would have even sufficed. But these are just wild claims that are untrue, and he has to be condemned in no uncertain terms for us to ensure that we uphold the sanctity of our judicial system and not to bring them into all these, prejudice and political underpinnings like this. It is unfortunate, and what he did is highly uncalled for.
Honorable.
Yeah, you see, the truth I always say runs marathon and lies run sprints. So as a result, we know ourselves, don't we know ourselves? He has his own classmates, I have my classmates, you have your classmates. We've grown over time, we've joined various political parties. He knows that if I were a class, he knows I belong to NDC. If I were a lawyer and then they appoint me, Manasseh knows that this is an NDC lawyer who is sitting on the bench. Doesn't Manasseh know that? I'm coming, I'm building a point. Okay. I'm building a point. Wouldn't you know that if we were classmates and then we did law and that team was in NDC and you are an MP or any other political party, and I've been appointed when my government is in power into that, wouldn't you say that they've appointed an NDC fellow? It's clear. We know ourselves because we attended school together, we stayed together. We know those at the core. But I'm going to be mentioning very specific names. Now, the president himself did not even deny. He said that not only are these concepts of MPP, NDC judges new, that's his own statement in our public discourse. So the president himself knows, he has accepted. So the president will not be happy with you this morning the way you are talking. Because he himself has accepted that they are. Look at his statement. And you see, the Ghana Bar Association should be careful. They've given their platform to His Excellency Akufo-Addo to be a launching pad against the NDC and the former president. But for the past 7 years, I'm coming.
How did they do that?
I'm coming.
They haven't done anything like that, Honorable.
They've done it. This is not the first time he has gone to Ghana. That is not the first time. And we have known the Ghana Bar Association, the way they behave.
How do they behave?
They are so partisan in their behavior. They are so partisan in their comment. Look at it.
This alleged.
No. We saw how. Even he said, we saw how.
These are yours, no words, no. Because as for this one, we disassociate ourselves from it. So if Honorable is saying it, we enjoy prime. That is not us.
Yes, the Ghana Bar Association, time and again, when we're in power, use their platform to launch attacks on former president, calling him corruption, you name it. Even the Bar Association. We know of these things. We know them. But we're in this country. When Professor Raymond Atubiga did the research and called all of us, I was there, the Chief Justice at the time, I said, Madam Akufo, He was there. And Professor Tuga said that his research has shown that judges vote on partisan basis. All the judges were there. And this woman, the chief justice at the time, was so hurt that she got up and rebutted. And Atubuka still came out and said, that was my research. If you think that you have contrary evidence to show, do your research and come and prove me wrong. Now he has done the analysis and he has shown this. We are in this country again. When the National Security Minister, no less a person, National Security Minister, Kandapa, admonished the judges of the fact that they were giving 7070 to any case that we brought to the court. You were there. Because of the next ruling, they gave us 2 as against 5, as against 3. Kandapa said it. If it were to be you who said it, they would have hauled you before the Supreme Court as being contemptuous of the court. Kandapa, National Security, said this. How many? We have 41 appeal court judges. Nanado appointed 31. Even you saw Professor Kweku-Adddo's issue on it. And let me read some few things to you.
I just asked a question. Can you answer, please? Yeah. So President Akufo-Addo appointed 31. So the 10, which party do they belong to? The NDC or which party?
They were appointed as judges by the other government, not just NDC alone. Like he said, we took over from Kufu, and so they were there. And then even Mills too appointed about 4 or so. Fine.
So we know they are more of NDC inclined, huh?
Yeah, but what is the number?
10.
Yes.
So you're saying
now,
so, okay.
Let me mention this specific, even if it is so. Look at, we also NS Gau, the MPP candidate for who was appointed in 2020 as High Court judge. 2022, he was yanked to the Supreme Court. We saw him, his pictures dotted all over. You know Yoni Kolendi. You know Solomon Ankama.
But has Yoni Kolendi said he's NPP?
Oh, but we all know. No. I know Yoni Kolendi.
How do we know Yoni Kolendi is? We just know he's a fine judge. You know, he has a fine law firm.
I know Yoni Kolendi, not today. That time he was even doing his service in Bolga. And I know him because I was with Chirac, and I know him very well. We know these things.
So you know,
so don't go there.
Kolendi
I know him very well, and I know, sometime it came that he wasn't called. I know all those things. I even knew before Kevin Taylor was putting all those things. So I know him very well. Even the president, in swearing them in, what did he say? He said, "My own." He was talking about Attorney General, which is Godfrey Dame. He was talking about Yoni Kolendi too. That these are my prodigies that I've trained, and they are my people, and blah, 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 blah. The president said, didn't say he's not. You understand? So what we are talking about is a reality. And the conduct of the judges themselves show where they belong to. Are you getting me? They can appoint you, Manasseh, as even a party chairman. They can appoint you even as a party elder. When you go there, you see, the pronouncements and the ruling of the judges are supposed to strengthen the institutions that we have. They are not, by their ruling and their pronouncement, they are not supposed to destroy the institutions. Their conduct, that's why they are called laws. It's supposed, but if you have, look at currently, so there is even a research that shows that the judges, they are so biased in their rulings and so on. I have not said, you've seen the research, you've seen prominent judges, prominent lawyers have talked about this. Is on Professor H. Kwesi Prempeh, you name them, we've all heard the interviews about it. If you conduct yourself that way, it even accentuates what the perception and what John Dramani Mahama said. And John Dramani Mahama was talking to NDC lawyers and said they should make themselves available and they should accept appointment into the judiciary where it's a career progression. And that we've seen that this government has packed the court, and I've mentioned you at least some names that we know that they were MPP candidates. At least NS Gawu, we know that he contested, and speeches are flashed all over.
Out of 31, you've mentioned only like 3.
No. The list is big. It is big. We know these things and so on. So for me, I think that the president should not use that. The president himself knows that he appointed MPP judges there. I should not tell him. He's a lawyer standing for over 50 years. He's getting to 80 years. He should not be telling the truth. He should not be obfuscating the issues by saying that what your mama said. You yourself in your statement, you said that in his own statement. What did he say? He acknowledged that yes, these issues happen. Look at what Ochidaku wrote about our judiciary at the time. Ghanaians have lost interest in the what do you call it, in the Ghana judiciary. He wrote again, this was a corrupt judgment, and I dare say, without apologies, potentially dangerous to our democracy. My advice, ignore the judiciary. They can't be bothered to undertake. I'm
guessing this was 2012, 2013.
Yes.
Okay. So this was 2012, 2013.
That is Guy Ochildaku saying these things about it. Why was Ochildaku saying these things about the judiciary and so on? He's also a lawyer and so on. We can go on. The internet is replete with some of these things. When it comes to us, a people, let's ask ourselves what the former president said. Is it true or not? And if it is true, how can we avoid that? My brother rightly said, the judiciary is the only place all of us, including the executive, the members of parliament or parliament, including the individual, can go for relief.
Right.
And when they do their ruling, either you accept it or not, you are satisfied that even though I'm found guilty, the judge was impartial. The judge established the case in accordance with laid down principles of adjudication of cases and so on. If not, we are not going to move forward. Okay. We are going to stand on these issues, and it's going to draw us back. Is the judiciary?
Let's talk about something good that could actually create employment. You want to say something quickly?
Yes, you see,
please. Can I introduce the topic and then you just touch a little bit on it? Planting for Food and Jobs, where the president has appealed to the National House of Chiefs to try as much as possible to release the land so that this Planting for Food and Jobs can actually be a very good success. Now, some success, there are levels to success. Some can be like, successful, but we want a very high, the highest of all successes. And so the president is saying that the chiefs out there should please and please again release the land. Do not sell the land at expensive prices. If possible, give it out for free so that we can have more employment and also we can have food in abundance. Manasseh, you wanted to say something before you go into it?
When you look at the statement by the president, he mentioned that not only are these concepts of NPP and NDC judges new in our public discourse, they are also extremely dangerous and represent the most brazen attack on the independence of the judiciary. So I want to mention that there is a precedent to it. And we don't have short memory, as has been said of us as Ghanaians by the former president. You remember in 2020 election, the election petition, when the NDC went to the court to challenge the election results, they had no evidence whatsoever. They were unable to even put together their own results. And this has been confirmed several times by the current chairman of the NDC, Mr. Esedun Ketia. But what did the NDC do? You go to court with no evidence whatsoever. The court doesn't rule on emotions and baseless arguments.
Is that
the court doesn't rule with...
Mr. Mahama was saying what he said? Hold on.
So I am saying that the precedent to what the president said has to do with the 2020 election petition, when during the ruling, when the Supreme Court ruled in favor of the NPP. We all saw what the NDC did. The way they were insulting the Supreme Court judges, calling them names. You go to court with no evidence. The court rules against you. And yet, you come back again and you bastardize the court. For you to even say that the Ghana Bar Association operates on partisan lines is very unfortunate, because that is not their modus operandi. They do not operate on that. It is never true.
Manasseh, you see,
it is not true. And I am mentioning.
He actually quoted. Is it Atubiga you quoted?
Yeah, Professor Raymond Atubiga. He's not the dean of the Ghana Law School.
He's the one who actually did the research also and said that that is what happens.
You see, the fact that you do research doesn't mean it cannot be subjected to strict proof.
That was why the judges were there and they couldn't subject it.
What it
is untrue.
Okay.
I am stating categorically that for the NDC, you see, it is very funny. The NDC likes to approbate and reprobate.
At that time, Madam Sophia Akufo-Addo actually did challenge him, telling him that, what you're saying is not true. And he
because
said,
it's not true.
Okay,
go and
just
do your research
and bring it out.
Yes.
But nothing came out of that.
And I'm saying that research, the fact that you do research, Roslyn, the fact you conduct research doesn't mean it is sacrosanct. He has his own bias. The professor you are mentioning is an NDC person.
He's not an NDC.
He's an NDC member.
The good thing about research.
He's an NDC member.
PhD guy.
You see, for that he's challenging, but you don't want us to prove
if
the
it's
research
an
he brought.
NDC guy, I accept it.
You see,
so the thing is that in every research, when you do it and it's being challenged, you also have the opportunity to do your research and bring it out and say that I counter whatever you said. And he said that he had given the opportunity that he wants to be counted. But it's quite unfortunate that he was never counted. And so it's like his what?
No, he has been counted on several counts.
His words
so his research has been counted on several counts. Several counts.
No, but
Roslyn, I want to
never counted up to today.
Okay.
No, it has been counted.
I want to mention. Let's continue. Let me let Manasseh continue, please. Manasseh.
I want to mention that you see the difference between NPP and NDC is that in the 2012 election petition, we had a lot of evidence. We went to court with evidence. And even though we disagreed with the ruling of the Supreme Court back then in 2013, we did not bastardize the Supreme Court because of the reverence we have for them.
How did we bastardize?
Unfortunately, for the NDC, for a group of people to go, for the highest opposition party to go to the Supreme Court with no evidence, and yet you expect the Supreme Court to rule in your favor with no evidence.
But you say you didn't bastardize.
Then afterward, no, but in 2013.
But Gabi did that.
No,
you let me finish. You let
Gabi is not he then wasn't the candidate of the MPP. Gabi even today holds no position in government, and so he's an independent, ordinary member of the MPP. I am talking about the former
Minister of Energy.
I am talking about the president. You remember in the 2020 election petition, the former president himself bastardized the Supreme Court, calling them names, unanimous FC and all of that. Did you hear the then candidate Akufo-Addo do saying? It tells you the nature of the NDC. When the Supreme Court rules in their favor, you find them standing in front of the court, taking pictures, singing praises of the Supreme Court. But when they are unable to adduce evidence to whatever issue is at the court and the court rules against them, they cannot accept it. They cannot accept it.
Gabi's words cannot be held as MPP's words.
We are talking about.
I'm just asking.
We are talking about what candidates. We are talking about what candidate Roslyn. We are talking about what candidate Akufo-Addo said after the election petition ruling in 2013. He said that everything in his bone, in his upbringing thus far, causes him not to accept it. But for the sake of the smooth operations of this country, he will accept it, even though he disagrees with the ruling. What did the former President Mahama say?
My question.
What did he say?
Said Manasseh, but we can move on to the plan.
Of course, I mentioned that Gabi is not the president. It's Gabi the president. Is he a minister? Is he a government appointee?
Whether he is a minister or not, let's not forget that his name has popped up in so many instances in higher decisions that you ask yourself.
These are alleged.
No, they are not alleged.
These are alleged.
Let Manasseh
Gabi is not a minister.
And the public and the MPP know that we didn't go to the Supreme Court with pink sheets. The pink sheet, they went there. That is why the judges said never access. Where are our pink sheets? We went to court to challenge the constitutionality of the declaration of Nana Akufo-Addo as president. Because the electoral commission itself in the declaration of the results changed the figures, kept changing the figures, and announced the result 5 good times. 6, I think so.
It's not 5. I was going to ask you if it's 5 or 6.
And the electoral commission's position as chairperson is indivisible. You can't delegate it, and you announce the results once, and that has been it. The electoral commission was changing the result. It wasn't NDC that changed. So we went to the court not as a result of pink sheet, but to challenge the constitutionality.
But Honorable, your chairman actually did say.
I'll come to the chairman. I'll come to the chairman. The unanimous FC, we didn't give. The people were saying that, what sort of judges is this? All the time is FC, unanimous. Fine. This is the only time that's the only returning officer of the presidential election was refused to be interrogated in the court. If she had been interrogated, we would have known the truth. Today, as we see, the truth has only remained with G. Mensa in her head. No one knows what actually happened. At least we would have known why you kept changing the figures and announced the presidential results 6 good times. It has never happened. And you know what? Finally, she even relinquished her duty to the PR, Sylvia Anno, to do the rest of the announcement. Immediately after that, Sylvia Anno was made ambassador by His Excellency Nana Addo Akufo-Addo out of this country to compensate her. You understand?
What if she qualifies for it?
No, Rosalind,
it cannot be true.
Allow us to make.
No, go ahead and make your point.
Manasseh, hey, Rosalind Manasseh, if I announce something in your favor, the immediately after that, I've not even sat on my chair. You give me an appointment. What, even by yourself, by your behavior and your conduct, what are you telling the public? Are you with me? I've done something to you this morning. Say, oh, Tim, you have done that. I brought a car, I've dashed it to you. What does that mean?
Right.
Your conduct and your behavior shows that. Look at the Chief Justice today. When we went to file the case against the Electoral Commission, what did he do? What the register said that, look, the Chief Justice said that until she's around, he's not going to, no one shuttles it. And that has always not been the issue. You come immediately. Then you go straight to the bar conference without not attending to that. When you conduct yourself like that, what do you think the petitioners will think about? What do you think the public will think about you? So let's get these things clear. Look, when the president was talking about the Airbus one, you know what the president did? The president surreptitiously mentioned that Martin Amido was the one who called John Dramani Airbus one. Why did he? To paint the picture that Martin Amido, that is their own man. If he calls him, then we cannot even do what? Challenge him. And the establishment of the OSP office, when they established it, Banner says, listen to me carefully. They established with the intention that when they put the OSP there, who is Martin Amido will come hunting NDC people. So they will say, it's their own man who is hunting them. Have you seen? Martin Amido is hunting the NDC people. Okay. You understand? So, Manasseh, we did not go to court.
All right. Okay. Let's move on to advanced jobs. Manasseh.
And on the...
Manasseh,
if I have a second.
No,
he mentioned the issue was
if we don't move on, we'll stay.
Just listen. From today, we don't go and mention that we didn't go to the court.
Honorable, your own chairman has mentioned that you were not able to collect your results.
Please,
that's what your chairman has said. That you were not able to collect your results.
I'm reading messages, gentlemen. Please, I'm reading messages. Gentlemen, can I please read my messages? Thank you. If he fights against corruption, how does he obtain the name clearing agent tag? Okay. Good morning. Sometimes I don't know the reason why this nice guy to come to your studios to defend this corrupt NPP party. Look at the way he's struggling. He should give me one person that special prosecutor has been prosecuted since the office was created. Manasseh, it looks like they say you're a nice guy. Manasseh can sit there with a big grammar. NPP will still go to opposition. Kojo Cape Coast. Good morning to you. I think I've already read this one. Political administration spends so much. Okay. Another brand new day, Rosalind. It's so pathetic to hear and see a mining site not being under any legalization and regulatory body for so many years. No tax to the government for developmental projects and not under negative tax. Mineral Commission officials should be sanctioned with punitive measures. Corruption can't be prevented in the world. However, all alleged corruption cases against the president is false. We still recall Airbus scandal, Alfred Agbesiwoyomi scandal, Jida scandal, misappropriation, millions of dollars allocated to SADA, etc. The president is clean under any alleged corruption cases. The elephant is the winning symbol. Please wish my beautiful Jennifer Kujo a happy birthday for me. Okay, Jennifer, happy birthday. This coming from Fee, Presby Quarters, Takra Day. All right, thank you so much, Fee. All right, for you at home, you can also send your messages to us. And of course, the president planting for food and jobs, where the president has appealed to the National House of Chiefs to give them land. Let me merge this with the increment of cocoa prices. It's been increased by 76%, and it's good news. Actually, some portals are reporting 63.5%, others are reporting a 76%. Now, cocoa bag is being sold at 1,308 Ghana cedis. We know that the cocoa farmers are super excited about this because this is the highest increment in so many years. Honorable, your take on it.
First of all, the planting for food and job that the phase 2 that the president talked about. You know, I said it here last week. There's no way planting for food and job can succeed in the north with the erratic pattern of the weather, unless by irrigation. And by irrigation, the research has shown that Palgo alone can irrigate through gravity 100,000 hectares of land to plant food and crops. Now the president is launching a phase 2 in the northern sector, while even the phase 1 was fraught with a lot of challenges. There's just no way the planting for food and job can succeed in the north when you have only one season. And because of the weather pattern, the changes in climatic conditions and global warming, it has even reduced the lifespan of the weather, the raining season. We used to have about 5 to 4 raining seasons. Now, look at this year, the rains came late. And we are almost inching into the dry season. How can you use our local crops, millet, rice, and those to be able to yield the quantities of food items that we want? It cannot just happen without the fundamentals of the agric in the northern sector being tackled through irrigation. As I talk to you, we have the tunnel irrigation in Navrongo, we have the via irrigation. In my constituency, we have, at our time, we built 2 dams that we are irrigating now. Before that, there was an old dam that was even older than me. I got that from childhood. It has been there up to today. These are the dams that we use to irrigate our areas for production, so that you can have a year-round production. And in Tono, for instance, you can do rice farming. Even in the dry season, you can do tomato, and they do it in larger quantities and so on. That's why the people of Navrongo have a lot of income at their disposal. Now, if you just launch it, and look at how the launch is done. Today, as we sit, the prices of fertilizer have gone up. Government owns the fertilizer suppliers. Agric implement, including tractors, anything that has to do with agric. The policy is that if you import them, it is a duty-free. But the taxes you pay is even more than the duty. And I told you here that we imported a combined harvester. We ended up, Rosalind, paying 120,000 Ghana cedis on taxes alone. A combined harvester. And it even took the intervention of the Minister for Youth and Sport, Honorable Yusuf, because the combined harvester was going to his people there. He had to go to Parliament and talk to Brian Achampon. I went on more than a month before we cleared this in. We paid a whopping 120,000 Ghana cedis. It's aware. These are facts. You can't go about it. You understand? And these equipments are not there. How are you going to do the planting for food and job in an area where the season is so erratic? It hasn't come. And
I think that's why the president has actually, gone ahead to appeal to the chiefs.
To what? Do you appeal to the weather?
But
is that the weather? Is the rain controlled by
chiefs? Then you go ahead and do the irrigation. When you get the land, then you do the irrigation.
It's not about land. The issue is not about land, Rosalind. I'm from the area, I know. It's not about land at all. We have people staying in Accra here who have gone to do big rice farming in the Fimbisi valleys. We have the former Minister for Agric, Honorable Akoto, Ose Akoto. He has gone to acquire big lands there. So it's not about the issue of land. If 100,000 of lands you will get. I don't know who is briefing the president. Go to the Fimbisi valleys. The valley stretches to the northeast, down to Yaba Kubori. You can plant 10,000 of acres for one fellow. It's not the issue is that the weather does not allow continuous farming or all year round farming.
But what about the increment of cocoa?
I'm coming there.
Are you happy about it?
Look, the increment of cocoa it's a rip-off. You see, let me even send your mind back to something. It's a rip-off. This is the first time the price of cocoa has gone to over 3,600 in 46 years. And it is so because of the shortage of cocoa in the world market. Because Ghana is facing the issue of galamsey. And because of galamsey, the cocoa production has gone down. And then Côte d'Ivoire is also facing their challenges of the cocoa. So it has surged to 46-year-old time higher because of the fact that there's shortage of cocoa. And look, I've said this over and over. How do you increase the price of the cocoa farmer when he cannot even go and buy zincs? When the price of inflation and the exchange rate has written all his profits. And then you increase, the government is taking a whooping he's giving them just about 52% of the cocoa price, what they sell into the national market and so on. And let us get this, you see, cocoa farmers get the price not because government is doing a favor to them. In fact, government is buying from them. It's not a favor. And Rosalind, look, the cocoa sector is owing 14 billion Ghana cedis. Since this government came to power, they've been making losses every year at the cocoa, so they cannot even pay cocoa. You remember the recent issue about the fact that the World Bank talked about it and that they have to restructure the cocoa debt sector. So look at 2016, they made 395 million losses after you've syndicated cocoa. After you've syndicated the money, now you know the syndication. Let me explain this. You take the cocoa buyers, you go to them and say, I have cocoa to buy. They will give you promissory note that we'll buy your cocoa. Then you then take that and go to the various banks and they'll give you money. That's why Communal Judge Japan said he was condemning the CEO, the current CEO, saying that even cocoa, you sell cocoa and make losses. And you tell Ryan and say you have increased the prices of cocoa and they are who is jubilated? The Ghana National Cocoa Farmers Association is here to react to the issue because
initially, but individual farmers are happy about it.
Individual farmers, but the Ghana National Association of Cocoa Farmers is not happy and they are going to come out with their statement.
So they are going to come out with their statement?
Yes, on the analysis.
What if they come out with a statement and they say they are very happy about it?
No, but we also do analysis.
Okay.
We do analysis. Don't we know that the prices of items on the market has gone up? Cocoa farmers cannot buy cement, they cannot buy zinc, roofing sheets and so on. Hasn't it eroded all these things? Is inflation not under ascendancy? Okay. The inflation is even coming as a result of what? Food. And
all right, Honorable, your point has been well made. Let me bring Manasseh in.
Why is your time running?
Yes, our time is running, Honorable. Yeah, so check the time.
And that's a talk.
On Saturday, as we all know, on Saturday, the President and the Minister of Agric and the Minister of Chieftaincy engaged the National House of Chiefs to have a roundtable discussion with them so that they will release large tracts of land to their subjects to engage in the Planting for Food and Jobs Phase 2. And this is a right call because all of us are aware that in Ghana, about 80% of lands are held in trust by our chiefs and families, and so it's a right thing for the president to do by engaging them. Aforetime, you would notice that government used to purchase land, and even today, if an individual wants to buy land to venture into agric, the cost alone, the upfront payment is so huge that it discourages people from going into commercial or large-scale farming, and so it is a right call for the president to engage the chiefs, and as per the conversation, we are confident that going forward, our revered chiefs and traditional leaders will make lands available to their subjects so that we'll be able to embark on this PFJ Phase 2. And talk of irrigation, of course, irrigation is very critical, especially in the north. But I want to state that this Planting for Food and Jobs Phase 2 is not only focused in the northern regions. This is a huge project that will happen in everywhere in this country. So it is not something government seeks to do only in the northern regions of the country, such that the middle belt and the southern belt will be left behind. No, this is a huge project that will happen everywhere. So let's get that distinction very clearly.
And it's definitely going to create jobs.
Exactly. You know, when you consider the mandate the president gave to the new agric minister, Honorable Dr. Brian Echampon, the president was clear that he has to come up with a roadmap to ensure food security and food resilience by building on the successes of the Planting for Food and Jobs Phase 1. And that is what he is doing by way of introducing the PFJ Phase 2. Then he also tasked him, the president tasked him to ensure there is a turnaround in the trade crop, sector, and which has to do with especially a critical focus on our cocoa farmers, to ensure the price and the incomes they get from their cocoa beans are quite high. That is what led to the announcement of the new cocoa price. Now, I want to mention that government has done two significant things as it relates to the cocoa prices. One is to bring the opening of the season forward. Over the years, the season used to open in mid-October. And in mid-October. And this year we have brought it
in October.
Honorable, it opens in October and ends in September. It is only in this year that the government has brought it forward to September. And the reason is that when you go to our cocoa prone areas, you realize that most often than not, farmers are shortchanged because when school reopened, they would have to put their kids or their children in school. But because as at the time school would reopen, most of them may not even have access to funds. And so they would have to engage with these people middlemen who buy cocoa beans and all of that, and they will just buy at any price. But because government has been able to bring forward the cocoa season from October to September, it will then give cocoa farmers the opportunity to even sell and make better provisions for their awards. Then two, there has been an announcement of the cocoa price, the producer cocoa price, from 800 cedis per bag to 1,308 cedis per bag. And this is very, very significant and substantive. When you look at the gains farmers would have in this regard, it is not something that should be underplayed or undermined. It is unfortunate that for the NDC, whatever government would do, that is in the interest of people. Honorable, you not allow me to talk. I am saying that, you see, for the NDC, every good thing in the interest of the Ghanaian people is wrong because of their political expediencies and what they seek to achieve. But I see, as government, we are focused in ensuring that we are able to provide good facilities to our cocoa farmers. One, to ensure that they get good value for the cocoa beans they produce, and also to serve as a high motivation to them so that they would not have any motivation whatsoever to even sell their lands to other people as it relates to illegal mining and all of that. And so it is important for us to make the point that these new prices have been welcomed by farmers. Farmers are very happy. And when you look at the cocoa interventions government has made, pruning and the rest, you realize that this is a right call. As for NDC, they will only engage in propaganda.
Talking, only be NDC.
That is what you. Let's go on the line and speak to a cocoa farmer. You know what? Let's just speak to an ordinary Ghanaian man who is a cocoa farmer. Let me speak with a cocoa farmer from the Western region. Good morning, Akufo-Addo.
Good morning, madam.
Departure to say. Nyamiado me hoye esi abaya to cocoa mu mo reaction yes say when ya jisa abaya to cocoa ni mu ana say se ne watu mu nya bi se odi bi beka ho ankeye
madam ase ne motifo the sense cocoa no bu oni de aban dia kan ho ne de fast moniaje because we share from 1980s wokwa abanya obaya watimi atokuku more than 50%. Esa abanya ya tikuku no increment no there. Madam moniaje ho but this grafo be 10 na 20 that would tumu no ho. Do na no mo kan say omoniaje ho an obetumi e de atwa omoka. Na bisami na.
That's good. Okay, Kweku, what about omo farmers na ka no mo ye wona fufuo no so no omo reaction so to say?
So far, na me hu ni say obia ni dimu ba de ba ko a ya na akuafo na ka ho ase kese pa ni say bo ne de odi aba ba eduru ba bia ya na sika sanna ya odi ba no ene na eduru ba bia ha adwe kakra bo sika na pienu betina ko kare kuku awo krat for ne sabe ke sika no ya na eche ya na aba no fe sika no ba ono hu problem ko na hwa omo dwene ho na ne sa dia ka bo ne de omuni ajefu
na eya edi be say ansamonsa ka musika
obi wo wa wutini kare kuku be 3 ne sika ni namba this year ya ko ni musa ne de e be sere ne senka saa de no ko bitime twa so nanka ode amaye
yo Kweku Tebri ye das bebre say otumi kai ho anope ene etwetwe nkomo so madam Kweku wo bibi a opesa o cancer wako
na me pese me kan say aban no o ma na nimira kuku akuafo ho because akuafo no na you diplomat e dey say we dey akuafo no no na just education ko dey a obama man no perform
that's a bebre Kweku. So I've been speaking with Akufo-Addo. I don't know about it, but I want to it's just. I've been speaking with Akufo-Addo, who is a cocoa farmer, and I asked him if they are happy about the increment. He said yes, they are very, very happy about the increment.
Say they are even when you say honorable,
listen. No, said this. No, he said they are very, very happy.
Please. So let me do the interpretation. So he says that he's very happy about the increment. I asked if his colleagues are happy as well. He said his colleagues are happy, but their fear is the payment, because sometimes there's delay. Sometimes they have to carry the cocoa for 3 weeks or more before they receive the money. And so they are pleading with the government that as the government has increased it, so should their monies be paid on time. Because since 1990, they have never seen any government increase cocoa more than 50%. This is the first administration they've seen increase.
60%. We increased it by 60%.
I didn't say it.
At that time, even Manasseh, who is even against, I even wrote it for himself.
I'm not the one who said it. I'm not a cocoa farmer. Anyway, I want you to take a look at this, okay? So this is the 2018 National Best Cocoa Farmer and Chairman of the Best Cocoa Farmers Association. He says, I have been in cocoa my entire life. This is the best cocoa price increment I have ever seen.
How much can he buy cement with it? Roofing sheet, nails, and all those things.
There are people
we were giving them free fertilizer and free seedlings and cocoa bonuses. Asking whether they've ever given the cocoa bonuses since they came to power. Whether they've given them free fertilizer. So when you see this money and you go into buying fertilizer and seedlings, 1,300, how much is going to be left for even your family to enjoy? So for me, we do these things not just political, because the people themselves know. But if you're saying that it's okay, and this man, what is the man
not saying no.
What is the people man saying?
Is he MPP?
He wants to draw political colors to the man as well.
Manasseh, you speak for Ghana. Have you been giving them free fertilizer? No.
Honorable, during your time when you were giving free fertilizers, your party apparatchiks were smuggling them to our neighboring countries.
Anyway,
yes,
we continue with that.
We
continue with our topics.
A lot of them. That's what we were
doing. Let's do our conversation with regards to lead. There's been a research that has shown that there's been increment in the lead in our foods, in our water. And this is so harmful to our health to the extent that children lately are being affected with their IQ. So children being born are having a low IQ due to our lead increment. And this lead increment is from different sources, of course. When it comes to our galamsey, they use these minerals to get the kind of the gold that they are looking for, to extract the gold. And out of that, we end up having the lead in our foods. It trickles down. You know, you might think that what is happening in Obuasi is happening at other places, at Tonsu and other places. But guess what? These foods come to Accra, and so everybody seems to consume it. Same with our water bodies as well. Now, this lead can actually give your child a very low IQ. Honorable, I have been scared since I read this report.
Yes, you must be scared. Not only lead, but even cyanide, as a result of the chemicals used in extracting gold, especially the one ton used by the galamseyers. You know, the well-established mines have a way of extracting and they have a way of cleaning it up. But for our younger brothers and so who are into the galamsey and all those people into it, these chemicals are used as well. So that is the residue that finally gets itself into our food crop production, in our water and so on. We've also seen a recent report about doctors at KNUST, who were talking about the fact that even unborn babies are affected and they give birth to what
the features, right?
Yes, and then it affects them and so on. So it is not a new thing, you see, but it all boils down to government policies on the areas of mining and so on. We've gone through a lot with the galamsey fight, out to a situation where 500 excavators vanished into thin air. We don't even know where they are now. And a lot of the issue and the involvement of kingpins of this government in the galamsey, as revealed by Professor, Professor Frimpong Boateng, about the mess there. When you do this and your aim is to extract money, would that recourse to putting in place proper mechanisms and check to ensure that the people are safe? And you know, like you rightly said, not all of us are in the mining areas or in the oases and so on. Some of us who are not even near, who have never seen gold before, are going to be affected by this. Imagine if we have a population or our youth that we are nursing to take over from us are having deficiency in their intelligence and their thinking levels. Even now that we are having, the people have not taken, even then, our educational curriculum is not really bringing out the best in terms of what our children, our education for it, because of a lot of challenges we are facing. The free HSS we have embarked on is a whole lot of challenge and so on. So for me, I think it's an issue that government institutions that are into demand, the Minerals Commission is one, the EPA, even I think Ghana Standard Boards should be able to determine the quantities of chemicals that are brought here and its usage and so on. This has been said over and over. It's the laxity of government to enforce the laws that are governing this. And especially it is difficult because when government officials who have been appointed and being paid by the taxpayers' money were supposed to ensure strict adherence to these rules, put them aside because they themselves want to benefit from that.
We have seen the government fight Galamsey, haven't we?
The government fight against Galamsey, they had some policies, want to clean the waters. Our waters clean. Didn't Ghana Water and Sewage Company telling us that
Ghana cities extra
to clean it.
Yeah.
So it means that the initial thought about government to clean the waters has not succeeded.
Oh no, but they are cleaning it. It's just,
no, but I am not saying the Ghana Water is giving us even the breakdowns. And that it is even difficult to come. We are paying extra for that. You just mentioned it. You understand? The experts in the field are telling us this is what they are going through. The environment has been destroyed. We were training some people to recover them. Have they recovered the environment? Galamsey is still going on under the cover of darkness, especially by the Galamsey kingpins under this government and so on.
Okay.
Yeah, so for me, government has said, but the reality on the ground, is it so? The waters we are paying higher. They are polluted. Cocoa, you remember the EU and other people were complaining about even our cocoa and other crops that we're bringing that the Galamsey is affecting, and they were rejecting them. So it's not a matter. If you clean the waters, we'll see it. If these effects are not there, we'll see it. So we don't need to battle ourselves over whether government has done it or not.
Right. Honorable says, it's more evidence, action. He's saying that today all he's saying is what we see versus what is said. Honorable.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, but even with that, Honorable has been making a lot of statements that are untrue. So for him to say that there are a lot of government officials undercover doing Galamsey, so honorable. If
I didn't say that. Your minister of local government, the woman who is now
what evidence have they provided?
But Haji Alima said that we know DCs and MMCC.
So she should mention them. We don't deal with hearsay.
I didn't say that. The local government minister.
Honorable, it's not about local government or whoever. It's about evidence. So if you have
Professor
his statement, we all read it.
Yes.
He even mentioned that at the president's backyard, Galamsey was.
Yes, and it's true.
What is true? It is never true.
Why you people were talking about the president's mother's house?
Please.
Okay.
The mother's
we went
house.
everywhere. We went everywhere. Can you imagine? A whole president's house or his backyard, which is even a security zone? Because he is president, and you say that Galamsey, all these are baseless statements. The former minister said, please, it was not true.
Okay.
Because we sent journalists, cameras everywhere. Even before that, we have been on site to verify. Please. So you see, I want to make the statement that all these allegations that there are government officials doing Galamsey, they are untrue. And you see, as far as the president is concerned, and even as far as most of us are concerned, you see, we do not condone people. We do not condone those who seek to destroy the country from acting.
So
provide evidence.
I asked the question to him.
Provide evidence.
Asked the question. I posed the question to him, and I said to him, I was asking him if he has any proof and stuff like that.
He doesn't.
So this is it.
No, provide.
And I also
it's just hearsay. The person who said it is just hearsay. Provide evidence. That is it.
On the table.
Not on someone's words and
caprices. Honorable, let me handle it, please.
The evidence are contained in Professor Philip's
without evidence. It is just a written statement.
This conversation has nothing to do with politics. This conversation has everything to do with health and how we can actually prevent our children from having low IQ because of this lead in our water and in our food. Let's go on Zoom as Mr. Esmond Wilson Kwanzaa, who is a country director, joining us this morning. And today he's actually the country director for Pure Earth, and we are having this conversation with him because the research is from them. Good morning, Esmond Wilson. It's actually it's a hyphenated name, so I have to keep it together, right?
No, it's Esmond.
Okay.
Wisdom Kwanzaa. Wisdom is the middle name.
Oh, okay. All right. Let me call you Mr. Kwanzaa.
Right. Good morning to you and your viewers.
Okay, good morning. I hope you're doing well today.
I'm doing very well. Thank you for asking.
Great. Now, what necessitated this particular research?
Right. Thank you very much for this opportunity to share this with the viewers and the public. This is one of the first of its kind lead contamination study that shows high levels of lead in consumer goods and food produced in low and middle income countries, which is also available globally. Now, Pure Earth in 2019, alongside UNICEF, conducted a research into lead pollution and lead poisoning. And in that research, we realized that over 800 million children worldwide were lead poisoned. And so that necessitated this study to ascertain the sources of lead poisoning. And then based on that, in 2021, Pure Earth and its partners commenced rapid market screening study. Now, this study is the largest and the most diverse of its kind to date. Now, this study found high rate of lead contamination in metal and ceramic footwear, paint, cosmetics, and toys that children play with, posing potentially serious health risks to those exposed to them. Now, this research was done alongside the World Bank research, which is published today as well in the Lancet Planetary Health Journal, which also reveals dramatically a greater burden and cost of lead exposure on IQ loss in children and on
Right, Mr. Kwanzaa, I think the network is not being too favorable this morning. But let me ask you this question, because I know that's the question on the lips of almost everybody. Is there any advice we can give to parents out there so we can prevent this lead intake and have children who can have a very high IQ?
Study is a groundbreaking one, which is much concern to everyone. Pure Earth has detailed a 7-point recommendation to address this situation.
Right.
And one of it is that blood lead level testing should be intensified across the country, Ghana in particular, to ascertain the sources contamination. 2, home-based sources assessment should be intensified. 3, research into footwear leachability and its use. And then 4, we are recommending establishment limit for total lead in footwear, which is supposed to be done by Ghana Standard Authority, Food and Drugs Board, and other allied agencies. And then we're also calling for track cosmetics to production sources. And then finally, enactment of laws around lead in paint in particular. what we've realized about the study in Ghana is that the dadescents that we use, 55% of the dadescents have lead concentration above the reference levels. And so we need to be careful the kind of dadescents that we actually purchase in the market. We're engaging Ghana Standard Authority tomorrow on this to see how regulation around the reference levels can be enforced.
All right, Esmond, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We are very grateful. And that's Esmond Wisdom Kwanzaa, who is the country director for Pure Earth Ghana, and he was telling us how they arrived at their findings and what can be done with regards to, preventing this lead in our food that we consume, so we can have children who, actually are high in IQ. Gentlemen, I want to say a very big thank you for making it here today. Don't forget that effective today, the limited voters registration is ongoing. I'll quickly read a little bit about the statement, and it says, the Electoral Commission wishes to inform the general public that the 2023 voters registration exercise begins Tuesday, that's today, 12th of September 2023, and ends Monday, 2nd October 2023. The registration takes place at all 268 district offices of the Electoral Commission. So make sure you go out there and you register.
I was just adding that every fellow that has turned the age 18, we are encouraging them to go out there and register massively for us to be able to vote out this incompetent government come 2024. So we are encouraging all the youth.
Rosalind, he's aware they can't win because
I'll leave that to them. I'll leave that to them.
Okay, so we have our comments. How can this government be so crafty? They allow their cronies to destroy cocoa farms with their mining operations, now tend to increase prices for non-existing cocoa farms. We are lost as a nation. Alaji Hamza Pig Farm. Good morning, madam. We should be truthful to ourselves in this country and speak the truth for once. With all due respect, Mr. President, if anyone can be described as perennial candidate, then I'm sorry, it's perennial candidate, then I'm sorry, it is you, Mr. President. Don't forget the same Martin Amidu described you to be the mother serpent of corruption. Today, under your leadership, Ghana has now become a laughingstock in the eyes of international community when it comes to the fight against corruption in Ghana. I was also sad and ashamed to see the platform of the Ghana Bar Association as a campaign platform to call on people to vote against the NDC come 2024 elections. We are watching with key eyes open. God have mercy. Good morning, Joy Prime. I'm very, very sad and disappointed at this president. By the way, is the president living on this planet Earth? This government is the most corrupt government ever in the history of Ghana. If your president doesn't have anything substantial to say, he should keep quiet. Mother serpent of corruption. Wow. Anyway, I want to say a big thank you to all of you. Akpaliok didn't send. Akpaliok, anytime he sends, we read it. So probably today Akpaliok hasn't been available. But thank you so much for being here, gentlemen. We are super grateful. My guests have been Manasseh Attabuahin, who represented the NPP. He's actually the government spokesperson on economy, and Honorable Timothy Attabuade Awanterim, who represented the NDC today.